All right, welcome back. So, we're going to be talking about this story around the Supreme Court decides Tinubu's presidency survives CIA allegations. This is a breaking news, as a matter of fact. There's a news on Punch Nigeria. Yeah, I'm going to read it and then we'll talk about it. It says the Supreme Court has dismissed the lawsuit seeking the removal of President Bola Tinubu from office. The suit filed by the presidential candidate of the Hope Democratic Party (HDP). I'm just saying that I never heard of it, but the Hope Democratic Party in the 2019 general election. Ambrose Aworu sought sought Tinubu's removal based on Central Intelligence Agency and drug allegations. The Apex Court, in an unanimous decision by a five-member panel of justices led by Justice Uwani Abba Aji, on Monday held that the suit was frivolous and that Owuru be fined the sum of 5 million naira. If further warned the registry of the Supreme Court not to accept any it further warned the registry of the Supreme Court not to accept any frivolous originating summons from the plaintiff. Again, in the legal action he filed directly at the Apex Court, Owuru, among other claims, alleged that President Tinubu is an active agent of the CIA of the United States of America, a position he argued makes him unfit to occupy the presidential seat. The plaintiff equally urged the Apex Court to disqualify Tinubu on the account that he had earlier forfeited the sum of $460,000 to the government of the USA in a drug related case. He specifically prayed the Supreme Court to invoke Section 157 of the 1999 Constitution as amended and oust Tinubu from office for being under the control of foreign authorities. Owuru, whose political party HDP had since been deregistered by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in a suit, joined ex-President Muhammad Buhari as a defendant in the matter. However, when the matter was called for hearing on Monday, the plaintiff, who wore his lawyer's wig and gown, rose to argue his case by himself. Nobody juju be there. So anyway, I think you should take it from here. What are your thoughts about this, sir?
Of course, number one, I beg to disagree with you that that must have been some enchanting or enchanting spectacle. Enchantment is juju, right? So, right?
Right. I forgot what I
Yeah,
said. That.
I know. Yeah, I know. You just made that
Right.
interjection.
Yeah.
Yeah, jokingly, but
Yeah.
this is serious matter, and nothing precludes, nothing says that somebody could not represent him or herself in the law court pro se,
Mm,
whether as a lawyer or as a citizen who feels he could do same.
mm,
At least I know I have done that in the United States here, representing myself pro se, and I won the matter.
mm,
Period.
mm,
Yes, I won the matter. Period. Now, to the serious issue at hand, we were thinking that with the rulings before the or after the swearing in of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu last year, that this dogging uh, issues of him being seriously conflicted as to his past, who is he, or who he is, who he was, and who he is now, and the various issues of trying to know his pedigree, his address, and uh, whether professional or educational attainments in life, all those were determined in the wake of the presidential election in 2023 in Nigeria. But moving fast to the issue of the moment, um, you know, you will think that the law is what it is until you subject it to interpretation by learned uh, men and women of the bench. And so, in this case, what was the prayer of the candidate of now defunct Hope Democratic Party of Nigeria? The issue is what CIA wrote when inquiries were made as to whether Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is an agent or an asset. And CIA wrote in response that it is not their role, it's not part of their role to discuss anything relating to their asset. So probably that language, the coinage there, instead of saying whether Tinubu is in any way an agent of that Central Intelligence Agency or not, plainly, it became so ambiguous. The ambiguity was in the fact that, we do not discuss anything about our asset. So there, we were not given a clear picture of whether Tinubu is an asset or an active foot soldier, or in which case, it will be reduced to a spy, or maybe somebody who commits an act of espionage against the Federal Republic of Nigeria to serve the interests of Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America. Nothing about this has been closed. It remains open-ended. But the court now has said nothing about this will be entertained anymore. And the running battle between countries of Africa and specific secret service agencies, particularly the international ones in the West, and how much Africa has lost in terms of the protection of its assets, its persons, and its interests. So, it becomes a very sensitive subject for anybody to want to handle, because you and I, we do not belong in that organization. We do not know, neither in the core or the fringe, we do not know the way it runs. We do not know its recruits. And honestly, we know that people have had to land themselves in trouble trying to ask too much questions about these people. But if it is true that Tinubu has been an asset, which we never can say, which we never can deny, all these things continue to hang in the balance, swinging neither here nor there. But one thing one could say is that the truth about this will be between Bola Tinubu himself and the CIA. And, to discuss sensitive issues like this in the open remains something that would be so awkward. And we don't want to find ourselves in such a predicament. Whatever it is, we believe that now Tinubu will know better. Because, like the Yorubas say, the head does not know where it will lie ultimately or along the way. Otherwise, it would have neatly prepared the bed or properly prepared the bed. Probably in his younger days. And other people have been mentioned concerning this. People like Mobutu Sese Seko, people like the late Chief Moshood Kashimawo, Olawale Abiola. We never would be able to know the truth about all these things until down the age, within within the ambit of time, somebody would declassify things, and then we would know the truth. But now, maybe while some of us are still alive, or maybe ultimately, like I said the other day, on the long run, everybody dies. But before we die, we deserve to know the truth about those who lead us and those who we follow. And Tinubu should not even take this personal. You see the questions we ask every day about Donald Trump. We want to know if he's an asset to Russia. That is, those of us who are Americans, we are interested in knowing. We want to know how Africa became what we see Africa as today. How did we get there?
Yeah.
Whether you are reading Walter Rodney or the very revered professor in Nigeria in those days that was kicked out of Nigeria by General Ibrahim Babangida, I'm talking of Patrick F. Wilmot. You know, Babangida famously said people described them as extremists who were teaching things that they were not paid to teach. Walter Rodney wrote How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. And there are suspicions all the time as to the interest that is involved in the way African leaders, particularly Bola Tinubu, lately embracing those economic policies, political economic policies that are recommended by the Bretton Woods institutions of IMF, World Bank, and International Finance Corporation, IFC, in Washington, D.C. We never would be able to know all these things.
Right.
But of course, when they want to intimidate us in the media, when they want to intimidate the most important people who occupy the office of citizens, that is the average citizen, they tell you, you know too much, then you pay.
Mm.
But why should anybody pay for this? Wanting to know anything. All of us cannot suffer the fate of the late Mr. Delegiwa, Nigeria's celebrated journalist. So, question would also be asked as to the appropriateness of deregistering Hope Democratic Party. Is it because their presidential candidate decided to pursue his rights in the law court, or what? What is behind that? That gets all of us involved in political affairs or journalism or law. That would, tickle some things within us. So that would get us so excited and curious. Should that be an appropriate response just because somebody is trying to pursue a cause, whether legitimately or otherwise, and then you deregister their political platform? I think that in itself is not democratic. If that is the reason for doing that, or maybe because they do not command enough followership, and so they cannot continue to waste ballot paper or space because of such a political party.
Okay.
Personally, I believe there are too many irrelevant political parties on the parade in Nigeria. The best that we have experimented with was it came from the man who described himself as the evil genius, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. But when Nigeria operated the two-party model, we were better united. The Social Democratic Party and the National Republican Convention, that was achieved through military fiat. I don't know if we need any military fiat now, but honestly, if everybody, because America, people erroneously think that America is a two-party country or two-party system thing, or maybe Europe as well. No, just that there are two prominent political parties in the United States. There are two prominent political parties also in Britain, and I think we are going to ultimately move towards that kind of trend as time goes on in Nigeria. Maybe it will be a battle ultimately, or there will be repeat battles ultimately between the ruling party now, which is APC, All Progressives Congress, and People's Democratic Party, PDP. But you find that everybody just wants to be a lot of the manner. I mean, some big fish inside tiny pool. I think we can do better than that.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Join the conversation. Join the conversation if you have an opinion about this. Um, you know, um, it's very hard to, if you're not a journalist like the High Chief himself, it's very hard not to see some of this rhetoric or all the stories coming out. It's very hard not to see them as a joke sometimes. But I appreciate your insight because it brings us back up to speed, because every single one of these angles are all valid and must be assessed. So thank you for that. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, follow, turn up your notifications. We do have some other trendy stories around the world. We'll be right back.